I wanted to take some time to discuss a theory I've had about one game I own. And, I think this theory would be worthy of that the show Game Theory, that one hosted by the gentleman known as Matt Pat. And it involves a game that has a fondness in my heart, the game Eternal Darkness. Now, if you are familiar with the game, you know that it is the story about, the story focuses around protagonist Alexandra Roivas, and she discovers, after her grandfather's murder, that her family has been fighting this thing for a long time, and she finds out all the other people who have fought it using the Tome of Eternal Darkness. But something that's never mentioned, or always not implied, is what is the Eternal Darkness. Everyone tends to figure it is whichever ancient Pius Augustus chooses in the first chapter of the game. But I'm not convinced of that. In fact, after multiple playthroughs of the game, and in fact this also became the basis of a fic, my adaptation of the game in a sequel story I'm doing, that the Eternal Darkness isn't one of the three ancients, but actually the fourth one mentioned in the game, Mantorok. Now, this isn't baseless in what I figure, but to understand how I came to it, you need to know a bit about the story. You see, Mantrok is apparently the one that is sort of a warden for the other three deities, being Chiturga, Zelatoth, and Ulioth. And the game's antagonist, Pius Augustus, chooses to follow one of those three. In the second chapter of the game, Pius then succeeds in apparently binding Mantorok, which basically starts what is supposed to be a slow death for Mantorok. And thus you think Mantorok is defeated, he's weakened, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, when you find his rune, using his rune in the magic spells in the game leads to some interesting effects. I mean, using Mantrok rune for the reveal invisibility spell causes your character to become invisible. Enchanting a weapon with Mantrok's rune gives the blade a little extra oomph and delivers a poison blow to anything it strikes, a poison that can't be gotten rid of. So something doesn't add up. And there's some more evidence later in the game that you first see when you play on your first playthrough. You see, later in the game, close to maybe the last two chapters of the game, you come across the spell Bind, which works like this. You cast it on a creature, and that creature is then bound to the element that you cast on it. Any other creature with it will then attack it if it's in alignment different from what it is now bound to. Now the key thing is who they're bound to. If you would cast it on a Chiturga creature, it gets bound. You would need to use Ulioth because Ulioth is dominant to Chiturga. If you bind it to a Zelatoth creature, you have to use Chiturga. And if you bind it to a Ulioth creature, you need to use Zelatoth. You can't bind a creature to its own element. It doesn't work. Yet Pius bound Mantorok with Mantorok. That that doesn't add up. So, why doesn't it add up? And I thought about something else. You see, when you play through the game again, you end up this time only with two choices when you play Pius's chapter. But before you play through that, you have to start exploring the mansion. Now, playthroughs and everything else will only take you through certain areas of the mansion. The foyer, the library, expecting you to find the secret room right away. Rooms upstairs where you would first see signs of the alignment being picked are off limits. But there's one spot not off limits to you, the kitchen. The kitchen has a blade lock in it, which must be aligned to whomever Pius chooses. But if you go in there when you haven't chosen an alignment, there's one room on the blade lock, the room of Mantorok. Now add to it that when you play through the game and beat it a second time, you can play through it again a third time. This limits your choice to only one. And when you beat the game this time, you get a special ending. An ending that says that Mantrok, each time you beat one of the ancients, reset time to basically right before Pius Augustus's chapter. And then you went through it all again, and he reset it again. Now, if he was bound by this time, how does he have the reserves to do this? Because this binding, and when he casts the spell to reset time, is about a couple hundred years apart. Add to it, that if he knew that this attack was coming, why not stop it then? I think the answer is simple. I think the binding was just an illusion. Mantrok basically orchestrated the whole thing so that he could get rid of Chiturga, Zelatoth, and Ulioth. And given the size of these creatures, you can't just assume that Mantrok is small and stuck at the temple in Angkor Wat. If you paid close attention playing the game, you would have seen during Ilia's chapter two snake-like tendrils that grab the guards. Those tendrils appear elsewhere. They appear in the ancient forgotten necropolis where Pius had found the artifacts. They appear there twice, and they have appeared in the city of Enga, which is under the Roivas estate. This would assume that Mantrok's huge. I mean, it's like he's encompassing the globe. So how could one binding spell, his own binding spell, cause him injury? The answer, he can't. He's been orchestrating things all this time. Orchestrating them to literally get rid of his rivals. Now, there are other things that confirm this, and stuff that was not initially put in the game. You see, I read up on some things about the game, and including an extra character that was removed from the game, there was actually supposed to be a fifth ancient. This one, which remained unnamed, would have been aligned to the color yellow, hence why you see the runes when you find them are yellow. Why that electric floor in both Enga later in the game and in Forbidden City, the Necropolis, whatever you want to call it, that floor is electrified. Whatever shield you use to protect yourself from it gets blown away step by step, even Mantrok. So it must be something that even Mantrok can't stand up to or opposes the Fifth Ancient, which was dropped. In my own story, I call this Fifth Ancient the Goddess. In part, we had 3 definite male deities and 1 female. And you got the belief of the divine feminine. So, making this entity the goddess just seemed right to me. But how much would this have changed how the story of the game had been if this Fifth Ancient was included? I think we'd see that it would be a definite sign that Mantorok is the eternal darkness. Probably why they removed it, make you think it, but it's not actually the case. That Mantorok isn't the eternal darkness, but he is. But it is my theory, and I think it's pretty valid because there was basically tons of evidence already in the game hinting to it. Of course, I wouldn't mind hearing what other people think, and if someone wants to point this in Matt Patton's direction, I wouldn't mind hearing from him, see what he takes on it. But let me know what you think. Put your thoughts in the description. Share this, especially if you're a fan of this game, because maybe you had the same thoughts and were just waiting for someone to voice them. Take care.